In a village where power and wealth collide, the death of a king sparks an intense battle for the throne. Among the rich and powerful vying for control is Chief Udeze, who becomes the village's king after years of strife and political tension. But even as Udeze ascends to power, a quiet storm brews. Rival factions grow more desperate to see him fall. However, in the most unexpected turn of fate, it's a poor street hawker, Eberechi, who becomes the unsung hero, risking everything to save a life she barely knows. Little does she know, this act of courage will change her life forever. Before we continue, please do well to share your thoughts in the comments section, hit the like button, share and subscribe to this channel. Here we go. Amagu village did not look dangerous on the surface. At sunrise, smoke curled from mud kitchens. Goats wandered lazily between compounds. Children ran barefoot, chasing one another with laughter. Women balanced baskets of cassava and peppers on their heads as they walked to the market. The air smelled of palm oil, firewood, and fresh rain. Yet beneath the peaceful surface, Amagu was sitting on a secret that could destroy it. Wealth. Not the kind that could be seen, but the kind hidden deep beneath the red soil, solid minerals, rare stones, underground riches that powerful people from the cities had discovered years ago. Government officials came pretending to survey the land. Businessmen came building guest houses and hotels. Politicians visited during election seasons with gifts and empty promises. Everyone wanted a piece of Amagu. But tradition stood in their way. The land belonged to the throne. Whoever controlled the throne controlled the land. So when Igwe Okiri, the old king of Amagu, died suddenly in his sleep, the village entered a darkness it had never known. The king's death shocked the village. One evening he was healthy, joking with elders, eating pepper soup. The next morning, he was cold and lifeless on his bed. There was no illness. No warning. No explanation. Some said it was old age. Others whispered poison. But what mattered most was this. He left no clear successor. For the first time in Amagu's long history, the throne was empty. At first, the elders tried to follow tradition. Meetings were called. Families were consulted. Divinations were made. But instead of unity, jealousy tore the village apart. Each wealthy family believed the crown belonged to them. Each man saw himself as king. And slowly, greed replaced honor. 7 years. That was how long Amagu stayed without a king. 7 years of fear. 7 years of silent wars. At first, it was only arguments. Shouting during meetings. Elders walking out in anger. Accusations of bribery. But soon, the darkness deepened. An elder who opposed a certain candidate collapsed and died after drinking palm wine. Another disappeared after leaving a meeting at night. A third was found dead by the river, his face frozen in terror. No one spoke publicly. But everyone understood. The throne had become a battlefield. Villagers stopped trusting one another. Brothers avoided brothers. Friends feared friends. Powerful men moved around with bodyguards. Secret cults were rumored to be involved. Night meetings became common. Strange rituals were whispered about. Fear ruled Amagu. Children were warned not to wander at night. Women locked their doors early. The palace stood silent like a grave. The throne had become a curse. Among all the men who desired the crown, one stood apart. Chief Udeze. He was not the wealthiest. He did not bribe elders. He did not threaten anyone. But his name carried respect. He had built classrooms when schools collapsed. He paid hospital bills for villagers he barely knew. He supported widows and orphans. When floods destroyed farms, he helped rebuild. He believed leadership was service. The elders trusted him. But his rivals hated him. They tried to disgrace him. They spread lies. They tried to tempt him with bribes. But he refused. After 7 painful years, the elders finally announced. Chief Udeze would become the king of Amago. The village erupted. Half danced. The other half burned with jealousy. On coronation day, Amago looked alive again. Drums thundered. Masquerades danced. Women ululated. Hunters fired guns into the sky. The sacred crown was placed on Udeze's head. But in the shadows, defeated men clenched their fists. They had spent millions trying to buy the throne. And they lost. That night, they swore an oath. If he will not step down, then he will step into the grave. And from that moment, the war began. 3 months after his coronation, Chief Udeze collapsed during a council meeting. Foam filled his mouth. His body shook violently. Panic filled the hall. Doctors later confirmed. Poison. He survived. But the message was clear. Weeks later, his convoy was attacked on the highway. Masked men fired. Glass shattered. His driver was shot. Chief Udeze escaped into the bush. Bloodied. Alive. Then came the strange illness. Sudden weakness. Cold sweats. Dizziness. Then sudden recovery. Palace healers whispered of dark forces. But Chief Udeze stood firm. This throne was given by destiny. I will not run. But deep inside, he knew. The real attack was yet to come. The day Princess Amanda returned to Amago, the sky itself seemed to pause. Dark clouds gathered in the distance, not with the promise of rain, but with a strange stillness that made elders glance upward in silence. For 7 years, the king's daughter had been away, first in London, then in New York, learning the language of glass buildings, fast trains, and quiet loneliness. But now she was home. Drums echoed from the palace square, deep and steady, as if the earth itself was announcing her return. Women ululated until their voices cracked. Hunters fired their Dane guns into the air. Children ran barefoot alongside the convoy, shouting her name even though many of them had never seen her before. When the palace gates opened, Amanda stepped out of the car, and the cheering softened. She was not dressed like royalty. No coral beads. No heavy wrappers. No crown. She wore simple jeans, flat sandals, and a loose blouse. Her hair was tied back casually, her face free of makeup. She smiled, not the practiced smile of a princess, but the open smile of a daughter returning home. Some elders exchanged uneasy glances. This was not how a king's daughter was supposed to behave. But Chief Udeze felt his chest loosen when he saw her. For the first time in years, he smiled without fear. Amanda had learned many things abroad. She learned how to sit in classrooms where nobody knew her name. How to survive winters that burned the skin. How to live in cities where everyone rushed but no one noticed you. She learned independence. But she also learned loneliness. In London, she watched families gather for Christmas while she sat alone in her dorm. In New York, she saw homeless people sleeping beside billion-dollar buildings and realized how cruel wealth could be. Yet every night, her mind returned to Amago. She missed the smell of red soil after rain. She missed women singing while pounding yam. She missed the way the village breathed together. And now she was back. But the palace did not feel like home anymore. The palace was bigger than she remembered. More guards. More gates. More rules. Every movement was watched. Every visitor was screened. Every sound at night sent guards rushing with weapons. Her father rarely slept. She noticed how his eyes scanned every room. How his hand twitched at sudden noises. How he paused before drinking water. This was not the man she remembered. Power had aged him. Fear had changed him. On her third night back, Chief Udeze called her into his private chamber. The lamps were low. The walls were silent. Guards stood outside like statues. He looked at her for a long moment before speaking. "Amanda," he said quietly. "This palace is not safe." She laughed softly. "Father, you survived everything. What could possibly happen now?" He did not smile. Instead, he told her everything. The poison. The bullets. The sickness. The threats. He told her about the men who smiled at festivals and cursed him in secret. He spoke of rivals who would rather see the village burn than accept defeat. And then he said the words that changed everything. "They will come for you." Amanda felt a chill crawl down her spine. But pride rose faster than fear. "I am not afraid," she said. "I won't live like a prisoner." Chief Udeze closed his eyes. He knew he was losing this battle. Amanda refused to be locked away. She wanted to feel Amagu again. So she began sneaking out. At first, it was early mornings, walking quietly through the market before it got busy. She greeted women selling vegetables. She bought roasted corn from hawkers. She laughed with children. Later, it became evenings. She tied a scarf around her hair. She dressed simply. She blended in. And for the first time since her return, she felt alive. But what she did not know was this. She was never alone. From the first day Amanda stepped outside the palace alone, she was noticed. A man selling phone accessories near the road. A motorcycle rider who slowed down whenever she passed. A woman in the market who asked too many questions. They were not villagers. They were watchers. In a compound far from the palace, powerful men sat around a table littered with bottles and papers. Their faces were hard. Their voices were low. "The king has one weakness," one of them said. "His daughter." They had tried everything else. Now they would try her. The rivals did not want Amagu criminals. They wanted outsiders. Men with no loyalty. No conscience. They found them in another state, hard-eyed men who asked only one question. How much? The plan was simple. Kidnap the girl. Demand ransom. Kill her quietly. No witnesses. No mercy. They studied her movements. Her habits. Her favorite paths. And they waited. One evening, Amanda left the palace as usual. The sun was setting. The road was quiet. The wind carried the smell of ripe fruit. She walked alone, humming softly. Unaware that destiny was already standing under a mango tree. Unaware that her freedom had attracted death. Unaware that her life was about to cross paths with a poor street hawker whose courage would shake a kingdom. The sun was dying slowly in the sky. Its last golden light spilled across the red earth of Amagu, stretching long shadows from trees and mud houses. The evening breeze carried the smell of smoke, ripe fruits, and distant cooking fires. Somewhere, a baby cried. Somewhere else, a woman laughed. To most people, it was an ordinary evening. To Eberechi, it was just another struggle to survive. She leaned her back against the thick trunk of the mango tree that stood near the lonely road leading out of the village. The tree had become her resting place after long days of hawking fruits. Its wide branches gave shade. Its roots felt familiar beneath her tired feet. Her tray of fruits sat beside her, carefully arranged, mangoes polished with her wrapper, oranges stacked neatly, bananas tied in small bunches. Each fruit represented food, rent, and hope for another day. She wiped sweat from her face and sighed. Her body ached. She had been walking since sunrise, calling out to strangers, begging silently for them to buy something so she could eat. Some days were good. Most were not. But she never complained. Because she had learned early that no one listens to the cries of the poor. Eberechi had no parents. They had died when she was still a child, her mother during childbirth, her father from a strange illness that the village said came from grief. She grew up moving from one relative's house to another, always feeling unwanted. When she turned 16, she left. She did not want to be a burden anymore. She began hawking fruits. No education. No protection. Only determination. At night, she slept in a small mud room with a leaking roof. When rain fell, she used plastic to cover herself. Yet every morning, she stood up and walked again. Because survival was her only dream. As she rested under the mango tree, she noticed movement in the bushes across the road. At first, she ignored it. Travelers passed through often. Then she heard laughter. Rough voices. Men. She turned her head slightly but pretended not to look. They were sitting close, hidden by leaves. Their voices carried clearly. Tonight is the night. The king will cry. Eberechi's heart skipped. She lowered her head, pretending to add just her fruits. Her ears sharpened. She walks alone. No guards. We will take her before she reaches the bend. Her fingers trembled. They were not joking. They spoke of money, guns, and a girl who trusted the night. They spoke of kidnapping. And killing. Then Eberechi saw her. Walking gently down the road. A young woman. Simple clothes. Scarf tied around her hair. Peaceful. Unaware. Eberechi recognized her from whispers. Princess Amanda. Her heart pounded violently. She looked back at the bushes. The men were standing. Adjusting their clothes. Preparing. Fear gripped her. She was poor. Alone. Powerless. She could walk away. But then she remembered herself as a child, helpless, afraid, ignored. She clenched her fists. And ran. Leaving her fruits. Leaving her only source of income. Running toward destiny. The moment Eberechi turned away from the mango tree, something inside her broke, and something else was born. Fear wrapped itself around her chest like fire. Her legs moved before her mind could argue. Her body chose life. She ran. Her slippers slapped against the red earth, one nearly slipping off, but she didn't stop to fix it. Dust rose behind her like smoke from a battlefield. Her chest burned, her throat tightened, and her vision blurred, but still she ran. Behind her, the voices of the kidnappers echoed like curses. Get ready. Tonight is the night. The king will cry. She ran faster. Every step was a prayer. Every breath was a fight. She had never run like this, not when hunger chased her, not when rain flooded her room, not when she was thrown out of a house for being poor. This run was not for survival alone. This run was for destiny. The lonely road seemed longer than ever before. Trees leaned over it like silent witnesses. The wind pushed against her like an enemy. She stumbled once, nearly falling, but she caught herself and kept moving. Her lungs screamed. Her legs trembled violently. Her head spun. She whispered to herself. Please God. Let me reach there. Images of the young woman walking toward death burned in her mind. The way she walked freely. The innocence in her steps. The trap waiting ahead. She remembered her own childhood, the nights she cried alone, wishing someone would save her. Now she would be the savior. When she finally reached the palace, her body was shaking violently. 2 guards stood by the gate, laughing. She rushed toward them, nearly collapsing. Please. Please. Let me see the king. She cried. They stared at her in disgust. You. One scoffed. Go away, you poor fruit seller. She grabbed the iron gate, gasping. They want to kidnap the princess. Please. They burst into laughter. Mad girl. Leave before we beat you. They pushed her back. Tears poured freely now. She screamed. She begged. They refused. Her heart felt like it was tearing apart. Then she heard a car. The palace gate slowly opened. A black SUV rolled out. Inside sat Chief Udeze. He saw the struggle. He ordered the car to stop. What is happening here? He asked. Eberechi dropped to her knees. She poured out everything. The mango tree. The men. The plan. The king's face changed. He believed her. He ordered her into the car. He called the police. And they raced. At the lonely road, Amanda was surrounded. Her heart pounded. Then sirens screamed. Lights flashed. The police arrived. The kidnappers froze. They surrendered. The princess was saved. The king's silence. Chief Udeze stared at Eberechi. A poor hawker. Yet the savior of his blood. The throne had shaken. But destiny had spoken. The police station was quiet, but the silence was heavy, as if the walls themselves were listening. The four kidnappers sat on the cold floor of the cell, their backs against the wall, wrists chained. Their once bold faces were now drained of color. Sweat ran down their temples, and their eyes darted from one corner to another like trapped animals. Chief Udeze stood before them. This was not the powerful king they had planned to break. This was a father whose heart had nearly been ripped apart. His voice was calm, but inside him, storms raged. Who sent you? He asked. They hesitated. He leaned closer, his eyes dark. Speak now, or you will speak forever in prison. One of them broke. His lips trembled. We were hired, he whispered. By men from this village. Your enemies. The room felt smaller. The truth had finally spoken. The people who smiled at festivals, who bowed at meetings, who called him brother, were the same ones who wanted his blood through his child. Chief Udeze closed his eyes. For a moment, he saw all the faces of those who had pretended loyalty. The poison. The bullets. The sickness. It all made sense now. The war had never ended. It had only changed its weapons. That night, the palace did not sleep. Princess Amanda sat on her bed, her knees pulled to her chest. The image of the kidnappers' faces haunted her. Their hands reaching for her. Their voices laughing. She shivered. When her father entered the room, she ran into his arms and burst into tears. I was going to die, she whispered. I didn't know. I didn't listen. Chief Udeze held her tightly. For the first time, Amanda understood that power carries shadows. She had walked freely into danger. Now she knew why her father had been afraid. At sunrise, Chief Udeze ordered the guards to find the hawker who saved his daughter. Eberechi arrived trembling. She wore the same simple wrapper. Her feet were bare. Her eyes were lowered in fear. She thought she was in trouble. Instead, the king bowed before her. The palace gasped. You saved my blood, he said. You saved Amagu. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She had never been honored in her life. Chief Udeze sent Eberechi to school. Then abroad. She learned to read. To speak. To dream. Years passed. She returned not as a hawker, but as a woman of grace. And then love found her. The king's son. They married. From dust to destiny. Moral lesson. True courage doesn't come from wealth or status but from the heart. In a world where power often corrupts, it's the humble and selfless acts that shine the brightest. Eberechi's bravery proves that even the most unlikely individuals can change the course of history. Sometimes, the most valuable treasures are not measured in gold, but in the strength of one's character. As the story unfolds, we are reminded that in every struggle, whether for power or survival, the real victory lies in the choices we make.
We must honor our traditions.
Eberechi's journey from a humble hawker to a powerful figure in her own right speaks to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of kindness and courage. May we all find the strength to stand up for what is right, no matter the odds. Thank you so much for watching this incredible story. Hope you enjoyed every bit of it. Don't forget to share your thoughts on the comments section, hit the like button, share to your family and loved ones. God bless you as you subscribe to this channel.